Fellaini was there, Lukaku was there, and I got to play against them in like a small-sided game. I got to see the level at a young age. My ability to persevere and to like push through obstacles has been tested like throughout my whole life, regardless of if they're playing for Juventus or they're playing for Bayern, like Tyler Adams. That's great. They're going to help our national team. But if we really want to help football in America, we need to get like 10,000 players playing in all divisions in all age groups. We were one of the last cycles to ever go through was the 96 and the 97 cycle. The transition from college to professional, even semi-professional, the ball moves so much faster. The players are able to control it and put it where they want it, right? At pace.
Right, and we're live. Welcome, everyone. Here's to another edition of the Coach Gerald Lami podcast. Today, I'm joined by my special guest, Marius Heislitz. Okay, I didn't butcher it like one of our friends called Ian Edwards. Shout out to Ian Edwards. Yeah, he usually just butchers that name, man. I don't know why, but yeah, Marius, man, welcome on the show. Goalkeeper. From America, you've been around the world.
Cheers.
You played in the UK, obviously in America, Germany, Spain. Is there any other places I've missed out?
Yeah, I played in Italy as well.
Mate, do you know, that's what I wanted to speak about. First and foremost, all right, welcome, bro. Thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for taking the time out and everything like that, man. I'm looking forward to the conversation because for me personally, we connected through Ian Edwards again on his Comic Rant show. Big up Ian again. And yeah, we just kept in touch ever since. And I just, your energy, I felt your energy in terms of like your age, you're a young man, but the wealth of experience that you've got, we need to dive into that because for a young man to go and do those things that you've been doing, to go and travel the world, it's not the easiest thing, especially when it comes to football, where you're dealing with a lot of egos, you're dealing with a lot of just everyone's just battling for this one place, especially your position, a goalkeeper, which is crazy. So let's dive into that quickly in terms of where did the inspiration come from, where, you said, I want to branch out. I want to go to Europe. I want to go to these different places. Where did you get inspiration from? And did you ever feel any fear going into these new territories?
Yeah, man. Again, appreciate being on the podcast. I guess we'll just jump right into it. It's kind of weird being like American because there's so many sports here. And when you're growing up, you can play basketball, football, baseball, and soccer is kind of like the fourth tier along with hockey. So like tropical wise, a lot of the guys up north play hockey, but soccer is basically number 4 anywhere in the US. It's gotten much, more people have been playing over the years, but growing up, I played football, I played basketball. And then by the time I was about 12, 13, I was still playing soccer since I was a kid, but that's when it kind of got like competitive. And at that time, a coach had just moved from Brazil and he was a goalkeeper coach. And his name's Gaucho Pino. And he's been my coach for probably like 15, 16, 17 years now, since I was like 9 or 10. But really when I was 13 is when I turned that corner. So
it sounds like a sensei.
Yeah, he if he didn't move to the US and came to the club I was at, I probably would have been, still splitting time in the goal and on the field or playing basketball and football. And I probably would have, I don't know, you can never tell what you would have stuck with, but him being at the club was a big reason why I started playing goalkeeper specifically. So I started training with him, doing keeper training, like an hour or a half hour before training every night, started kind of getting to that routine. And really what brought me to Europe the first time was when I did a kind of like this ID camp with West Ham United. And not only American, but I have dual citizenship with German through my dad's side.
Last name explains it, I guess.
Heislitz, with the Z at the end. So I was able to kind of put myself out on the market, not because I was like super tall or because I had great footwork, but just because I had the passport. So it made me more attractive to the European market.
How old was you? Sorry, bro. How old was you when you done that?
12 or 13, like I said, when I was just starting to get competitive.
Okay.
So we had just started playing 11v11. I think it was still 8v8
Mm-hmm.
at the time. So I went over with a group of guys and we did this, we went to Wembley, we did a tour, saw Big Ben, Piccadilly, Oxford, and it was just like cool being over there. I had no idea that this could lead to something in the future. I was in middle school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or year 8 or whatever y'all call it over there, or whatever. So it was nice, it was nice to travel for the first time to Europe. And when I went over there, I did well, and they brought my goalkeeper coach with. He went over there, and he's hitting side volleys, he's hitting half volleys, doing all these agility jumps, and he's just training me. And all these coaches are there watching. They're like, who's this kid? Who's this coach? What are these drills they're doing? And they actually wanted to hire him and sign me to the youth team, and move me over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we looked into a boarding school, Brentwood Academy in London. I was staying in Romford for 2 or 3 times out of the year. I'd go to West Ham and I would stay in a house, like a billet home with all these other. Yeah, I was in Diggs. With Bob and Val was the name of the people there. They were great people. They'd cook us food and take us to training. And I did that for like a month, twice a year in the summer and on like spring break or winter break.
Mm-hmm. So
by the time I was going into high school, they wanted to sign me to like the youth team for the 17s and 18s. And it just, I had to have a guardian, regardless of having the passport. I had to have a guardian. And so it just didn't work out with that because my parents weren't able to move over. And I ended up staying back home in the States and finishing high school in the States.
Wow, man. That's a big commitment though for parents to make that as well. Did
Mm-hmm.
you feel any resentment towards them because West Ham's a huge club, whether or not it's probably not the biggest in the Premier League, but it's still well known around the world. Did you ever feel that sort of like, oh, why can't you move to London? Because this is my dream.
I mean, not really, because being older and like looking back in the past, they sacrificed so much. Like every weekend we're on the road in North and South Carolina. Every holiday we're in Orlando, Florida, or somewhere in Florida playing a tournament, or in Texas in the summer. So they sacrificed their lives, to let, and a lot of money too, to go all over the place and do these tryouts. But when I was in England as well, I went over to Middlesbrough and did a tryout with them. I was at Everton for a bit. I got to train with the first team.
Oh wow.
It was actually on an international break, so Tim Howard wasn't there at the time.
Oh no.
Fellaini was there, Lukaku was there. Back in the day, and I got to play against them in like a small-sided game with the bumpers. So I got to see the level at a young age. And I told you I spent some time with Empoli in Italy. On a similar kind of scouting program. They had a camp in the US, and they brought me over a few times. They offered me a youth contract as well, but same thing, just, and not selfishly, but as, a 16-year-old kid who had a pretty good life in the US, there, not to say like maybe a kid from a different upbringing who didn't have anything, maybe would have taken that opportunity to be like, hey, I need to get out of the town that I'm in and go make money and support my family. My family was the one supporting me for these opportunities. So, being 16, 17, just got my driver's license at a great private school. And I had lots of offers for colleges. It didn't seem like if I didn't go at 16 or 17, it wouldn't be there later on, So I just never really, felt like, hey, mom and dad, why didn't you guys move over there with me? It was kind of a family decision to wait it out till like after college days.
Bro, you've got a lot of experience, man, already. Like for a young goalkeeper to have that exposure, we're talking about world-class players here. Lukaku's one of the best strikers in the world. For you to be around that vicinity and to have that sort of experience, that's priceless. You're going to carry that on throughout your career, which is amazing. And then, so you've had that experience in the UK, you've had your experience in America. When did Spain happen? Was that after England?
So there was a transitional period with college for me. During the time I was playing in the UK in the youth teams, I was playing with the US national team as well, with the 14s all the way through to the 18s. So I graduated high school and went to college and played 2 years in college. After I finished 2 years in college, I moved out to California, which is where I signed my first semi-professional contract with the team there. And the first time I really got to play against good level players like Lukaku and world-class players like that was in California, but as a pro.
Okay.
I played against Los Angeles Football Club, the newer team in LA, in 2018 when they had just started out. And they were, they had Fellhaber, Michael Bradley. No, not Michael Bradley. Bob Bradley was the coach, and lots of other great players on that team. Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi. So they totally wiped us out 3-0 in the first half. But I had like one of those games where it's like 20 saves, but you still give up 3 goals. And shortly after that, I don't know if we spoke about this before. I did a stint with Atlanta United the year they won the MLS Cup.
Okay.
So that was being with them is what pushed me over into Spain when I signed with an agency after I played with Atlanta United. So one of my old coaches from the youth, who's an English guy as well, he's the head of the academy there. They had their third string keeper at Atlanta kind of go down with an injury. So they brought me in on a loan for 2 months. And I got to train with Tata Martino every day. Miguel Almiron, Joseph Martinez. They would keep me after practice and just bang free kicks on me for hours. And I got to train with Brad Guzan, who's one of the best goalkeepers in United States history, and he taught me a lot. The goalkeeper coach there, Aaron Hyde, he taught me a lot. He's an English guy as well. He's with the U.S. men's team now. So that was the first time I had seen that pace since I was in the UK when I was 17, and that doesn't compare to college at all. It was like, once you finish college, the level jumps drastically from where it does from like youth to college. The professional level, especially in the MLS these days, with those international players coming in, is much higher than I think they really get credit for.
For sure.
So that little stint there, I signed with an agency in Atlanta, and they sent me out to Spain at the end of 2018.
Wow. Bro, again, man, the experience and exposure that you've got is, for a young goalkeeper, they say that goalkeepers thrive from experience. You need time to develop that position because it is such a technical position to be in, especially as a goalkeeper. It's like you can go from 0 to 0 real quick. You can make, like you said, you can make those 20 saves, but you make that one mistake and you lose 1-0. You're the worst player ever in history. Where did you say, you know what, I really enjoy this position? Because, seeing your Instagram, bro, you're built like The Rock right now. Yeah. I see you in the gym. Where did the passion for jumping around? Because to be in that position, they say, the goalkeepers are the craziest people in this world. Do you know what I mean? So where did that passion come from in terms of, I know you spoke about your coach earlier on, because it's definitely a position where when you're younger, it's a thing where it's like, it's fun to be diving around, but as you get older, it becomes a lot more technical. We see the goalkeepers being isolated in a corner, and it's kind of like the one sort of position that you feel that you're part away from the team. However, it's starting to integrate a little bit more now. But where did you just say, you know what, I want to be a goalkeeper?
I mean, you kind of explained it, and I'll just tell my take on it. Like, if anyone that knows me knows that, when I was younger, I was like this crazy guy on and off the field, always, going out and doing all this stuff, trying to be around everybody. And I think over the years now, it's kind of, calmed down a lot, and not necessarily on the field, but just as like, it's a personality thing. I think with goalkeeping, I know for me, I can only speak for myself and my own experience, but, having that goalkeeper coach when I was younger, who would, we did so many different styles that I was being taught by English coaches or Italian coaches or American coaches. He brought this Brazilian style of, like, he would have these ropes that we would have to jump over, somersaults, lay on your stomach, turn over, and then do a dive. So just kind of like doing stuff like that, I had no fear of diving in the top corner, no fear from a 1v1, no fear playing off of my line. And that was my personality off the field as well. And I think over the years, really the transition from college to semi-pro to professional, when I was at Atlanta United in 2018, the amount of growing I've done since then, if I was there again, it would be a different story. But just coming off of playing in college and going to see that level, it's like you can't just be crazy on the field anymore. You can't just be, only able to make athletic saves. You have to be technical with footwork. You have to be able to have confidence with the ball at your feet. And, when I was growing up as a youth player, we did absolutely 0 to 5 minutes of passing during keeper training. It was straight to diving, straight to handling, and maybe crosses, but mostly shot stopping, because that's just the style of play it was back then. And now, with the new rule, you can play goal kicks inside of the box. When I was in Spain, that was when in 2019 and 20 season last year, that's what the first year of the rule, it was like those guys had been playing with their feet their whole careers, because that's how the culture is there. And it was really difficult for me to transition into having my midfielder come and check and stand right next to me in the 18, and then them use me as a sweeper to play out of the back. So I think, you take someone's personality, if they have the size and they're kind of like have this big personality and they're able to be a leader on the field, and you work that into handling and footwork, you can have a good goalkeeper. And I think, being able to have been able to travel and had, the experiences that I have, it's been good, but I still think the number one thing, like you said, for goalkeepers being off to the side is getting games.
Yeah.
And for me, over the last, 3-4 years I've been playing professionally, that's been the toughest obstacle, has been trying to get games. Being, when I signed, I was 21. I'm 24 now, and it's tough to be a young goalkeeper in the places that I played, especially international player, and taking the number one spot away from a guy who's been on the team or is from that country.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. And even I think we spoke about it on Ian's podcast in terms of Emi Martinez. He's been at Arsenal for 10 years, and it's only last season that he's got his opportunity. And again, I think it's a position where it comes with age. We've hardly seen many young goalkeepers that have come through in terms of big clubs. Like, obviously we've heard of like Iker Casillas that's come through, that's been given that responsibility anyway, because it is a delicate position, especially these days where you're saying, teams are using goalkeepers to start their attack. You have to be good with your feet. You have to be able to play out under pressure. So mentally, you have to be strong as well when it comes down to mistakes. I mean, look at Alisson the other day. We're talking about one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And it's like, once your confidence is low, you start making those mistakes, and it becomes mental after that. How strong are you? How resilient are you to come out of these situations? In terms of yourself, when you make those mistakes, how do you deal with it? Is it a thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to try and rectify that mistake throughout the game, or does it play in your mind throughout the game? Like, how do you kind of handle it? Because me as a player, when I used to play, mistakes used to eat me up. Like, if I give a bad ball and the other team scores from it or anything like that, it ruins my game, and it was hard for me to kind of get myself out of that hole. How, in your opinion, how do you kind of handle that?
I think it's like my ability to persevere and to like push through obstacles has been tested like throughout my whole life. Like I said, on and off the field, from what I've been through. And I think as a goalkeeper, you're kind of like on your own to push through that stuff, because, you might have friends on the team, but like you said, if you give a bad pass away, it might be a counterattack for a corner, or it might lead to possession of the other team. But if I give the ball away, the striker steals it, they score. That's all people remember. So you got to have that short memory. You got to have an ability to flip on and off, when you give up a bad goal or a mistake. And I think, again, it brings back to my youth career with my team growing up here in Atlanta. We weren't the best team. We didn't have the best players in the state, but we would give up a goal, and then it would light the team up, and then I would make a save, and it would bring everyone's confidence, and then we would grind out a 2-1 win from behind, or we would go up 1-0 and defend like crazy with 10 men behind the ball. And I think having that to build me up into my late teen years and now my early 20s, it's helped me get into the position where I am now, and now I'm trying to fight to be that guy again, to try to be the number one. And I think And training, you just got to take it with a grain of salt because it's training, you know. And when you're the backup keeper, sometimes you show up to the locker room in the facilities and it's a Thursday and the game's on Saturday. So you're just going to have like a knock around and play some football, tennis. And it's hard to stay motivated as a second string keeper. Like you said, Martinez comes through Arsenal for over a decade, and for 5 years or 6 years, he's the number 2. And then now he's at Villa and he's outstanding this year. And it's just tough, man, like to be like physically ready, physically in shape, and to be on the bench. And, you know, the guy in front of you, whether you think he's better than you or you don't, you know, he's better. It all comes down to like the coach's opinion, and it really tests your ability to like swerve into a positive mindset for the team to get 3 points, you know, because nobody wants a goalkeeper on the sideline going like this, you know, thinking, hey, I should be in the game. You have to be, you know, a team player. You have to want to get 3 points to promote and to avoid relegation. So the teams in the last few years that I've been on, I've kind of been in and out of each of those roles, and it's helped me kind of, you know, build a strong mindset to kind of, you know, like I said, persevere from, you know, negative situations like being the backup or giving up a goal. I think it's just like a callus that you build mentally over time, and it takes lots of years to do that. Definitely, I've come a long way to build that callus since I was, you know, 17 in the UK.
Definitely, man. You've built those layers as a goalkeeper. Again, it's about that experience because, again, like I said, it's a delicate position. But even off the pitch as well, you know, before we came online, you was watching the game, you know, watching the highlights of the Arsenal and Leeds game, and it was like your comment was on the goalkeeper, you know, maybe you should have done this, maybe you should have done that. Is that how you analyze the game as well? It's like you're a student of the game. Do you take it serious off the pitch also?
Yeah, like, again, same thing, the years of experience, you know, you look back on when you were 16, 17, playing youth football, and it's just, there was always guys in our team that were like, hey, who are we playing today? And then there was other guys in our team who knew the exact standings, the goal differential, who watched the Premier League and Serie A and La Liga. And then we had guys in our team who just were there to have fun. And I've always been kind of the player I knew which cleats were coming out, new gloves that were coming out. Like, I followed the standings in every top flight football league. And I think as I became a professional, I stopped to care as much about what
Hey, bro, sorry, it's cutting up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I think
is it better now?
Wait, yeah, now it's better, yeah.
I was just saying, like, you have video analysis with your team,
you
know, a few days before the game, and you know, you're like, which guy's going to take the penalty? What percentage does he go to my right? What percentage does he go to my left? When I was younger, I don't know if I didn't care or we just didn't do that, but those are things you have to do now. You have to pay attention to the other teams in the standings. You have to know how many points are in hand and like what matches and what fixtures you have coming up, where you can gain points on the road, what home matches you have to try to win, you know, marking on corner kicks, you know, are you working with the zone or man-to-man, which players are going on the post? Those things are so critical because you could have everything written up, but then it comes down to me in the game to organize on a corner kick. If I don't get my fullback on the post and they score there, it's my fault, not necessarily his, because I didn't organize that. So I would say I've, you know, become a student of the game, but I've always kind of had a passion for, you know, like watching other teams play, watching, you know, leagues higher and trying to take stuff away from that. Because just like the goal in the Arsenal Leeds game I was talking about, the goalkeeper's got the ball at his feet and he doesn't see an open pass. Maybe the pressure's coming in, Aubameyang, whoever is pressuring him. In that case, to not give away the ball in the penalty, he should just kick it out of bounds, right? But if he kicks it out of bounds, the coach is going to yell at him for giving the ball away.
Yeah, definitely Bielsa.
But instead, he tried to find the pass and he couldn't, and he gave away a penalty and then essentially a goal. So I don't know. It's tough. Like playing in Spain, sometimes they would play me a ball back. And if I tried my hardest, I could take a touch and play out the other way. But I wasn't comfortable with the ball at my feet, so I would just send it long, and then they would say, hey, don't do that. We want to keep possession. And then my argument is, well, rather than me trying to keep possession and giving the ball away, I'm just going to not give up a goal. So it really depends on the style of the play that your coach likes and your team and how confident they are with that. So I think it's a lot of pressure to with the new rules and the new style of play as a goalkeeper.
Sure. No, definitely. I definitely agree with you. What do you think it is, bro, when it comes down to like these mistakes? Is it like, what we spoke about earlier on, Alisson and De Gea has made some, high profile mistakes. Aspilicueta, which we spent about half an hour the other day speaking about him. Not Aspilicueta, sorry, Kepa.
Yeah.
I don't
the
don't
other
even,
long guy with the A name.
Don't ask me to pronounce his name. But like Kepa, what do you think it is like as a goalkeeper when they make mistakes like that? Is it because they've been told like make sure you play out the back consistently? Like with Alisson the other day, that pass was not on. Do you know what I mean? Where I think it happened twice in that game.
Miscommunication when he came out for the 1v1.
Yeah, even that. Is it him trying to make up for those mistakes where he's getting a rush of blood to come out of his goal because there was no need for him to come out? Do you know what I mean? What do you think it is as a goalkeeper that, these rash mistakes come out? Is it a thing where, because sometimes you're in a goal for maybe about 20 minutes and you might not have any action whatsoever, and all of a sudden you have to step up and probably make a worldie of a save. Now, like, you have to keep occupied, you have to keep moving around or whatever that you need to do. But when it comes to these mistakes, what do you think it is for these goalkeepers? Because we're talking about world-class goalkeepers here and they're still making mistakes.
It's so difficult because if you, like you said earlier, they only remember your mistakes, not the saves. I mean, they remember the saves, but mistakes more.
Of course.
And I'll take you back to the World Cup when Robert Green slipped that ball under his legs. A routine pickup in the World Cup, and he's worked his whole life to get to that point. I trained with him a few times when I was at West Ham. Unbelievable handling, great technique, a great guy. Just he makes that save 99 out of 100 times, but for some reason on the biggest stage and the biggest game of his life, the ball goes under his legs. And now you fast forward over a decade, you're looking at guys like Alisson, De Gea, Azarbilaga. Like it doesn't make sense how. I don't know. I have no answer for you because I'm been in their shoes too a couple of years ago. First game of the season, we're playing Toledo away in Spain. It's a goal kick. I play my fullback to the left. I tell him play up the line. He doesn't. He plays it back to me. I take a touch. The striker runs onto me, and I muff the pass to the forward, and he taps it in. And it wasn't like I was, I had pressure. I probably could have played a one touch, but I in my head, I know the coach wants me to play out of the back. I got pressure, kind of got fouled, got knocked to the side, and played the forward. And everyone's like, "What are you doing? Why did you do that?" And you just kind of think in that moment, like, how did that even happen? I bet you see the close up of Alisson, like after he gives up that goal, he's just kind of standing there like this. He's like, how did I even make, he never messes up that pass. And I just think, I don't know, it can't, I don't think it's something that's happening off the field that they're carrying them onto the field like a family thing, or I don't think there's bad blood in the locker room. I just think these keepers these days, including myself, have just been making mistakes, and it just seems congruent around the league. More, we spoke about Kepa before than anyone else, and De Gea as well. I don't know if it's a lackadaisical style from the Spanish that they have a way of doing things and their technique. But you look at Valdez, you look at Casillas, you look at other goalkeepers that are great in Spain, and they don't make those mistakes when they were in their careers. They didn't have slip ups, for 2 years straight. So I really have no answer for you. I don't know if it's because the team is now playing more out of the back. I mean, back in the day, sure, Valdez would play out of the back with Barcelona, but he's not, most of the time he's just launching the ball up the field and they're winning, a 50-50, and he's really worried about making saves with his hands more than his feet.
For sure.
I think it might just be the style of play that's changed and caused overthinking, I think, is what it is.
Yeah, and that's a good point in terms of what you said in terms of overthinking. And like we said, it's a position where you're the last line of defense. Do you know what I mean? And the first start of the attack. And yeah, it's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. But going back to your career as well. So did you move to Germany afterwards, after the Spain move, or did you go back to America?
So Spain, I was under contract in Spain for the second half of the 2018-2019 season. I signed in January with the team in third division. I played 9 games for them and we avoided relegation. We were in last place.
Oh, wow.
We signed a few players. Yeah, it was awesome. It was in a town. They had like 15,000 people and like half the town would come to the games, and everyone wrote us off, and we ended up finishing with like 45 points and in like 12th place. And it was a great season. I went and moved from that team to another team in Spain that had just been relegated from Segunda B.
Okay.
Into the same group. And I played with them up until March of last year when the virus hit big time in 2020.
Yeah.
And at that time we were in, I think, 5th or 6th place, like tied on points. And in Spain, they do a playoff with the top 4 teams to go to second division B at the end of the season. So we missed out the playoff. So I stayed in Atlanta last summer and trained and got with my agents and decided to head to Germany instead of staying in Spain, and got to Germany in August, September of last year. And I went on a bunch of trials with teams in Bundesliga 2 and Bundesliga 3. And it was really hard to get in because of the corona. Like I had to, I have my German passport and my European citizenship, but they still wouldn't allow me to come in because I was flying from America.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So just to get on a trial over there took an extra 2 months. By the time I got there, preseason was over and they were already playing. And a lot of the teams there are in like the bubble situation, like what the NBA did. So they have the players going to and from the training grounds and not allowed to go out to minimize contact. And so I wasn't able to train with some of the first teams at the Bundesliga 2 level. I was training with the reserves and with the 23s, which is still a great level. And those guys are unbelievable players, but like not necessarily the level that I was trying to break into. So I ended up signing with the team in the Verbandsliga in Mannheim.
Okay.
And they're a really historic team. They won the German league back in like 1949 over Dortmund.
Oh, wow.
So they won or whatever the Bundesliga was back then, they won it. And since then have had like a pretty steady decline into like lower divisions, but still like great stadium, great facilities, great coaches and staff. They took care of me and got me in a place there in the city. And right when I was able to get my paperwork sorted out with the federation from Spain to transfer to Germany, it was around Halloween. They went into a lockdown in November. And so I stayed in Germany all of November. Our coach had like a running program that he had us doing because we couldn't train with the ball. We couldn't go to the gym. So I was running like 8-9 miles a day in the park in Germany, like dodging old ladies, walking their dogs and like just trying to stay fit and doing push-ups and like stretching in my room. And around like we have Thanksgiving here in the States at the end of the end of the month in November. My coach is like, look, we're not playing in December, so you might as well go home for Christmas. So it's today's February 15th and I'm still here. They've been steadily pushing back the dates to go home or back to Germany, I should say, because, it's just been, the virus has been so bad and the numbers need to be at a certain level to where we can go back and open things up. And, you're in England and they have like a new strain in England and that got into Germany after Christmas and New Year's. And so they're in like an 8 p.m. curfew lockdown. No stores are open, no restaurants are open, just like hospitals and grocery stores. And that's it. Crazy. So none of my teammates in Germany have even touched a ball since Halloween.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah. So like, if you look at it, when I was in Spain, we were off half of March, all of April and half of May, and then the season ends in May. So the German team last year was off the same amount of time, and then they restarted in August. So they've now been off longer than the first lockdown. They've been off November, December, January, February. That's 4 months. and
That's a
I'm not
long, long
scheduled to
time.
fly back till March. Yeah, so 4 months of training again, like I did in the summer from May to August. So it's like, okay, let me train for 4 months, go somewhere, then go back. Then it's like become this weird routine where I've just been training. And so, like I said again, to get games in the environment and the life that we're living in now, not only is it hard to compete for the starting spot, but you can't even get on the field to play a game with the referee. So
no, that's and you know what? As a player, there's a goal at the end of the week. You know, you got training. At the end of the week, I've got a game. So you know what you're preparing for. In these times, it's very difficult to prepare for something because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know whether or not you're going to be able to play a match at the end of the month or at the end of the week or at the end of the year. It's very, very difficult. So again, it goes down to that mentality where you have to be mentally strong to get through this moment. And I believe, you know, from your experiences being around people that have been great in football, and I'm sure you rub shoulders with a lot of these players and gained a lot of knowledge from them. So I'm sure you've taken that on board and implement it into your training now. And I've seen you've been doing a bit of training anyway in the gym, pushing those weights. As a goalkeeper, do you do a lot of weights, or is it more you're trying to do more agile stuff?
It's changed over the years. You know, being American in high school here, they really push the weights on you to do, like, you know, the three main: bench, squat, and power clean. And really the only one I've still done to these days is a power clean lift, because it works the whole body. You know, you work your legs, you work your upper body. And I've kind of moved away from doing heavy weights into more explosive agility stuff with medicine balls, with dumbbells and higher repetitions to raise the heart rate. So a normal workout for me would be, you know, say I'm training in the afternoon. I'll go to the gym in the morning. I'll ride the bike for about 15 minutes to raise my heart rate and break a sweat. And then I'll head over and do, you know, 4 or 5 exercises upper body, and then do some stretching. If I have training in the afternoon. If I don't have training, I'll still warm up the same, maybe ride the bike a little bit longer. And then I'll get into, you know, box jumps, working on plyometrics, stuff with the yoga ball, you know, doing hamstring work, glute work, because it's not necessarily about, like, I mean, if you work out enough, you'll look nice, but like, you want to kind of build injury prevention techniques to, you know, have a career as long as someone is Buffon, you know, to have a career like, you know, guys like Brad Friedel did, you know, into their early 40s, you know, like, be the next Tom Brady of soccer. Like, this guy is doing he's doing bands, he's doing these weird stretches, you know, because look at him, he's just won his 7th Super Bowl, and he doesn't even lift really heavy weights. He's just doing like movements, and those are the things you want to strengthen, those muscles, so that you can go on the pitch and I can come out for a cross and get hit and not go down and hurt something. So I wouldn't say I hit the weights too much. I like to do, you know, a bench press or a heavy squat, like, every now and then, only really in the off season. But during the season, I'm really just riding the bike and kind of just doing some shoulders, some chest, and some machines to kind of just keep the muscles loose. And you know, on days we have training too, you just go for like 45 minutes and just kind of stay limber.
Nah, for sure, man. I know, like, the Americans, you guys are athletes. Like, you lot love the gym. It's just, definition, everything. Where in the UK is not really, like, you know yourself, it's not really like that as a football player. Like you said, I've never really experienced like football in America, and but I've been told, you know, from people that have played there, where it's like you have to be fit to play. You have to be fit in every aspect. Now, speaking about, you know, the football in America and how much it's grown, like with the MLS and the young players that are moving to huge clubs in Europe. They're not just moving to any clubs. They're moving to the biggest clubs in the world. Like, they're playing with the best players in the world. How far do you see this going? Do you see, you know, the development to continue? Do you see America possibly winning a major trophy in the next couple of years? Like, how fast is this progression happening?
I mean, first, like, shout out to all the young guys going over and staying and making it, because I went over as a youngin, and I stayed and, lived in many places, and that's hard to do. Like, it was really hard. I remember I was like 16 living in Italy for a whole summer. And there was one night where I just like, kind of like, I was like, man, I want to go home. Like, I'm tired of being here and not knowing what anyone's saying. And, over the years, I've learned how to speak Spanish. I can speak a little bit of German.
Okay.
It's much harder than Spanish, but I don't know, man. These kids are 17. This guy, Weston McKennie, dishing up assists to Ronaldo on the regular. Pulisic setting these records in the Bundesliga. Now he's, running around in Chelsea, like the best clubs in the world. So you look at that level, and those guys will carry over to our men's national team. But if you take a step back and look at every division, like the professional divisions in the top 5, like Italy, Spain, Germany, France, and England, those divisions are flooded with players from those 5 countries. We only have a handful of players in the top flights, right? Guys like Pulisic, guys like Zach Steffen at Man City, McKinney. There's this guy, Hope, who plays for Schalke now. He just got signed. There's a kid at Barca who's super young too. That's like 5 guys, right? But if you look at this amount of Spanish players playing all over Europe, if you look at the amount of English players playing all over Europe, we just still aren't comparable to the amount. So there's a few more guys like at my level that I've played like 3rd division, 4th division, some 2nd division. And that's like probably a total of 10, 15 players. So we just need to get more players over here, regardless of if they're playing for Juventus or they're playing for Bayern, like Tyler Adams and other, like, that's great. They're going to help our national team. But if we really want to help football in America, we need to get like 10,000 players playing in all divisions and all age groups. There's been some guys I met at Sandhausen. There was a couple players from like Boston, a couple guys from Canada. But no one knows who they are because they're playing in lower divisions. It doesn't matter, because it's good for the sport to have those Americans over there, because it opens doors. I just think it's difficult with the citizenship. It's difficult, again, with the guardianship. It's difficult with family and finances to be 13, 14, 15 and have amazing talent, and maybe your family can't afford to get you over there, or you're a talented player, but you would never even know how to get in contact with a scout or an agent to get to Europe. And if you're from England, you can hop on a plane and be in Paris in 45 minutes, and or you can go to Amsterdam. You
Not
can go
anymore, bro.
all over.
Brexit.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? It's changing now. We're in your boat now as well. You know what I mean? But no, I get your point. I definitely get your point. I think what it is I think with people, they're very like, as soon as they get to a certain age, you have to go and play in Europe and things like that. I feel like with America, obviously it's a huge place. There's enough facilities to kind of build that infrastructure for these young players. In terms of coaching, I'm not too sure how good the coaches are out there. I know a few coaches that have moved there that are brilliant from here. But it's that consistency of having those coaches and developing young players, which we've seen now is slowly. I think there was 2 Dallas boys from FC Dallas that moved to Bayern Munich. Also, I can't remember their names, but it's about, having the foundation there. And then when they get to a certain age, maybe 18, 19, you can push them to America, to Europe, because I don't know. You don't see many young players coming through the game at the age of 17, 18 in the first team. You have to be really special. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, why not playing at MLS for, from 18 to 20? And if you can get to Europe from the age of 20, you've already got 2-3 seasons under your belt of playing first team competitive football. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it depends. I don't know. Obviously, you would know more than me in terms of facilities and coaches and things like that. Do you feel like the infrastructure is enough for these players to develop over there and then come into Europe?
Yeah, it is. It's gotten a lot better. If you step back 20 years and you look at the program they used to have here for the national team, was called the residency program. I don't know if you ever heard of it with the U.S. team. No. So what they would do is they would have a 2-year residency program in Florida, where it would be, I think it started with Landon Donovan's age group. I don't know. He's like he's probably like in 82 or 83. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but they were the first ones to do that. So they stayed there for 2 years when they're age 15, 16, and then you go to the U17 World Cup. And so it was the US Soccer's idea of, let's put these players together for 2 years. We'll have them play friendlies, have them go to like Europe and play exhibition matches against like Turkey and against, you know, teams from that area, and, you know, Romania and Italy and like and stuff. So I was there, and we were one of the last cycles to ever go through. It was the 96 and the 97 cycle. And we were the first cycle to not qualify for the U17 World Cup.
Wow.
Ever in like 20 years of this program. And then the following cycle was 98s and 99s, and that was Pulisic. And they shut down the program after that because the academies for the MLS had finally gotten to a point where they no longer had to send the best players in the US down to Florida to play together. They could just train with the MLS clubs. You know, at 16 years old, they get minutes with the first team, or they play with the second team in the USL division. And then, you know, by the time they were 19, they were selling them to teams like Bayern Munich and getting them over to Dortmund or getting them over to Schalke with the connections that they had made. So when I was a kid, it was like me and 3 or 4 of my friends were like the only guys on the national team who were going to Europe, because it was just unheard of to have those connections.
Yeah.
Because the only guys that were going overseas were like Landon Donovan, when he went to Everton, was crazy. And when Dempsey went to Fulham.
Yeah. Tim Howard as well. When he went Manchester United, right?
Goalkeepers were, it was like more of a thing that they had Friedel, Casey Keller, Tim Howard, Brad Guzan. So it was a normal thing because the English coaches, they love the big, strong, athletic goalkeepers, you know, that can kick it far, that can win crosses in the air. So that was good for them. But for field players, we were always kind of like neglected as an American, like, oh, you can't play at this level. Your touch isn't good enough. Your vision, your, you know, but the academies in the US, man, have gotten so good. Like the Atlanta United Academy here is so good compared to what I had growing up. Like there's a gate, you pull up, facilities, like 7 turf fields. You have the first team training ground. The pitch is perfect, cut every day. Then you have the second team training ground. They have their own stadium. The locker room just opens. The gym opens right up a garage door. You walk right out into the pitch. Like way better than Little Heath and Chadwell Heath, anything that West, like, because there's money, you know, they have money now. And so they're investing that into the youth program, and they're signing these guys at 16, 17 to what they call like a homegrown contract. And those homegrown players become like a marketing tactic. Like, hey, look at what we did. This kid came here at 13. We developed him. Now he's 17. Now he's on, you know, a 6-figure contract playing with the first team. He's getting minutes with the US team. So that's kind of become like status quo here. If you're a young player, you get in with an MLS academy, you can go pro or you can go to college. And when you're done playing in college and you play 80, 90 games in college, they have your rights to sign you, and you go back to your home club and you sign a professional deal. So we didn't necessarily have that in Atlanta when I was growing up. We missed it by a couple of years because I think the first year of Atlanta United was 2017, and I graduated high school in 14. So that's kind of the model now. Like the Red Bulls have done that with a lot of their players, the Sounders, FC Dallas is the best one, the academy, you know, they sent all of these players. Like McKinney was the first one. He was at Bayern and then he went to Juventus. So it's gotten better. And like you said, it's better for these guys to be 16, 17, training with the first team, seeing the level, getting minutes with the second team on the weekend. And then by the time it's time for them to go to college, they're ready to play pro. You know, they're ahead of college, they're ahead of that level. So I think you'll see in the next 5 years, you'll see more players coming from the US. I just think in general, there's definitely a handful of players here that could be playing in the second and third divisions in those top 5 countries in Europe because they're good enough. And at that point, when you're in a lower division, it becomes a lifestyle choice because you might be living somewhere where they give you free housing and like a good amount of money to save a little bit and have some spending, but you might not want to do that. You might want to go to college and get your degree and make your money right out of school. So it becomes like the choice that I've had to make was like, hey, how long do I want to grind for in Europe because my goal is ultimately to come back and sign a long-term deal in the MLS,
Mm-hmm.
you know, try to like start a family and settle down, you know, when I get older, because I'm doing my playing in Europe in my 20s, and it would be nice to come back to the States and be around family and, you know, sign a long-term deal here. But I can't necessarily do that until I play enough games overseas, unless I was to transition back now and then try to jump on a team here, you know, then it becomes like a whole tryout situation. And the way the US season mixes with the European season, they don't mesh because they go and they overlap. So it's difficult again for the transfer market. People, you know, signing in January and in July. July is like halfway through the MLS season. So those players, it's tough for them to jump over at the end of a European season or vice versa at the end of an American season, because the rosters are already full. So it would be nice to see the US transition to a European calendar and to a promotion relegation. But I think that's a whole nother conversation too.
Yeah. Well, when does the league start in America?
So in a normal year with no virus and pandemic, it would start in March.
March. Okay.
Preseason, they go somewhere like a tropical Florida or California or something and do like 3 or 4 weeks of February, and they'll play some friendlies against a college or like a local team. Then they'll report back to their city and play the first game in March. And then that goes till about, I want to say early October.
Okay.
So about 7 months. And then they do playoffs leading up until November and December-ish. But they have a long off season. It's December, like November, half of November, December, and January. So they get about 3.5 months off.
Okay.
Versus
that's a long time.
If you're a top flight player in England or in Spain, you know, you finish in May and then you get a week and then you're in with your international, and then, you know, it's
so
never ending if you're top flight.
Definitely not, man. No, it's interesting. I definitely feel, looking from the outside in, I definitely feel like the American market is growing. You know, whatever you guys get your hands on anyway, you always want to double XL it, make it the biggest in the world. And do you know what I mean? It's the money's there and the facilities are there. So I definitely feel like, you know, in the future, we're going to see a successful American team. How long, I'm not too sure, but you know, the signs are there that, you know, of improvement, and you know, we've seen, you know, the proofs in the pudding with some of these young players that are coming out. But on a lighter note, we're gonna go on to a little fire round question.
Okay.
Just to get more of your, you know, see your expertise, not your expertise, but you know, just a little bit more about you. Yeah. Right. First one. Yeah. Favorite goalkeeper of all time.
Present day playing or all time? All time.
All time. All right. We'll do present day and we'll do all time. Present day first.
Favorite goal? Well, I'm my favorite. It's me. I'm my favorite goalkeeper.
Yeah,
no, I'm kidding.
Right.
No, I'm not that good. Honestly, I've been watching this guy Bono, who plays for Sevilla.
Okay, yeah.
You know him?
I've watched a little bit about him. Yeah.
I've really tried to model ever since I've watched him play Europa League the last few years.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable shot stopper, and he's become one of the best keepers I've seen that can do the spread save on the 1v1s.
Yeah.
His timing is great, and he's really good out of the back. So recently him, and all time, I have to say Oliver Kahn.
Oof, yeah, that's a solid one. Solid. That's not because it's German connection, is it? Or he really
no,
is?
I was in Germany for the World Cup.
Okay, well.
It was 2002 when it was in Korea, but it was when they were in the finals versus Brazil.
Yeah.
And that was Oliver Kahn's best World Cup. And
for sure.
I was like probably 6 years old. I just remember walking through Hamburg and the streets were crazy. I remember watching the game, and that's kind of when I was like, hadn't started playing keeper yet, but I was like, this guy's crazy. Like he's kicking people in the face and he's coming out of the box and, you know, kind of heading the ball like what Neuer does now, but he was doing that in 02. So Oliver Kahn for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a solid goalkeeper there. And in terms of that, the save that you're talking about from Bono, is it similar to what Peter Schmeichel used to do back in the days, where it was that sort of handball stance of
Casper's done it on the weekend against Liverpool.
Yeah.
He's done it twice. He saved one on the line with his hand out, and then the other one, I think they called it back, or so he's come out, he's stayed big, and then or he stayed kind of like together like this, and then at the last moment, you kind of spread your whichever leg is the open angle. So if the back post is on your right, you spread your right, and you kind of spread and Neuer does it as well. But his father was the one who's been doing it, before years. Anyone else.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of flexibility, and it's a lot of confidence to be able to stay leaned over the ball and not like turn your body and go away. So that's one thing I've been working on a lot since we've had a lot of downtime, is working on that spread save.
No, for sure. And
it's
bro,
effective.
Quick one, yeah, because as fans, they sit there, they're like, oh, how did he not save that? Like, I would have saved that. But when you're behind the ball, it's a different situation. Yeah, it's not, you're not watching it from your sofa, comfortable with your popcorn or whatever you're doing. It's a different thing. There's tension. Nowadays, the football swerves left, right, center, everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, how is it behind, like, in terms of, how can I put this? When the ball's coming at you and it's flying everywhere, how difficult it is to kind of set your position, because as a goalkeeper, you want to have your set position ready and, be ready to make the save. But how difficult is it these days to have that set ready position, because the ball's flying everywhere these days?
I think it's become easier for me.
Okay.
In the last few years, having seen the higher level. So like I said earlier, the transition from college to professional, even semi-professional, the ball moves so much faster. The players are able to control it and put it where they want it, right? At pace.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned when I was at Atlanta United from the goalkeeper coach is setting deeper into the goal.
Okay.
So if the guy is on the top, if I'm in the middle of the goal and the guy's in the top of the 18 on the outside of the D, he's on the right side. So he's on my right. He's shooting to my left because he's going to whip it in. If I take steps deeper into the goal, that allows me more time to get to the ball at the far corner. And what they taught us growing up is step up out of your line to cut off the angle.
Okay.
Now that works if the shot is from straight on, but if the shot comes from an angle and it comes with pace and it comes with bend or knuckle or dip or whatever, it's no chance you can save that ball unless you're deeper in the goal and have more time to move your feet to get your hands to that corner. Unless you're like Courtois or Van der Sar, you don't have a chance to save that a few meters or a few yards in front of your line. So that's been something that I've been able to kind of fix and like add to my game, is set positioning deeper in the goal for shot stopping. As far as like 1v1s, that is the hardest thing to know, because if they play a ball over the top and you're jogging backwards, you don't know exactly, like, you got to look back. You don't know where you are in the goal. You don't know how big of a touch the striker is going to take. That's where that block save comes in. And that's like one of the hardest things, is the timing of, do I go down with my hands? Do I bend my knee? Do I extend my leg? Do I wait to see if he dribbles by me? Do I stand up if he tries to knock it over me? That by far for me is the hardest part of goalkeeping, is when it's a one-on-one and the striker has the ball and it's a guy with some skill.
Yeah. Do
you stand up? Do you dive? Do you guess? Do you attack him? Do you wait? It's like, I don't know if you can teach that. I think it's just kind of like a bang bang situation, but that spread save gives you the highest probability of, if he tries to chip you, you can throw a hand up. If he tries to go under you, you can spread and you can stop it from being megged. And if he tries to go around you, you can stick your leg out and kick. So that's been like what Neuer does, what Kasper Schmeichel does, what Bono does. That's like been the most effective way. But I think, getting into a set position with footwork, guys that are smaller will make the save versus a big lanky goalkeeper who's set higher, because the ball's just going to go around him because he can't get his feet to the ball. So getting your feet to allow your hands to make the save has been one of the biggest things I've learned in the game.
For sure. And bro, have you ever, could have made a save, but he said, nah, I'm going to make this spectacular. I'm going to go full. I want the pictures. I want the tabloids. I want everything. Have you ever done that? Because as keepers, I know you guys do that sometimes.
I definitely in training to have a laugh, if we're playing 6v6, but I mean, really in a match, like I'm pretty locked in.
Okay, you're focused.
So as far as like in the professional stages, I haven't been like 3,000-4,000 people in a small town in Spain yelling and cursing at me in Spanish. I'm not trying to impress them. I'm just trying to make it home without getting hit by a beer can or something, you know? So I might look like that because of my style. I'm a very explosive and athletic goalkeeper because of my coach growing up and my build. So it might look like I'm selling it, but I promise you I'm trying to just make it safe.
Nah, that's the main thing. As long as you keep that ball out of the back of the net, man. But nah, that's dope. That's dope. Right. Next one. Best player you've played with.
Best player, goalkeeper, all of it.
All right, you know what? Because you're a goalkeeper. Best goalkeeper you've played with.
I get 2 answers?
Yeah, you get 2. Because, bro, you said some names to me. This is a hard choice.
I mean, as far as like career goes, I mean, this guy, Robert Green, I mean, like I said, this goal he gave up, it's like, who cares? Because it's one goal, but people remember because it's a World Cup. Mm-hmm. But training with him was unbelievable. Like his handling is unbelievable, technique unbelievable. And then Brad Guzan, when I was at Atlanta 3 years ago, same thing. He's huge. He's way bigger than they list him. I mean, he's probably all of 6'4.5", 215 pounds. Mm-hmm. And he's like solid muscle. Every day before training, he's like full tape on his hands, wrist, every finger, because every ball that comes in, he's got it locked and secure. Wow. And he's explosive, and his footwork, left and right foot, amazing. So probably, you know, those guys pretty even level. It's just, you know, Brad was always behind Tim, so he never really got to play in World Cups, you know, when he was in England, which is tough. But as far as field players, I would have to say Miguel Almiron. I mean, when I was there, he, like, every day you'd show up to training, he was the first one on the field. He was the last one off the field on days where we'd work on free kicks and stuff. And he had to always, like, you know, some guys will like kick a few, and if they hit the crossbar, they'll just walk into the locker room. He would stay out there until he hit 3 or 4 perfect balls in the corner. And then there'd be a game at the weekend where he'd put the same ball in the corner. Mm-hmm. It's just like, even in passing drills, I would look over from the keeper section, and his first touch, his, like, they say, like, pass and move to the next cone. He's running as hard as he can to the next cone. And he was always so quick off the ball, always smiling, always, you know, always said hello to me at the cafeteria. Just like an unbelievable guy all around. And, you know, he's done great things at Newcastle since he's been there.
Yeah, for sure. That is the real life Santiago Munez. If you not watch Goal, that is the real life Santiago Munez. Yeah, he's living that dream. But no, he's doing really well, and yeah, he's a rapid player. He's super quick when he gets going as well, man. Next question for you, bro. Favorite moment of your football career so far?
I have a soft spot for back in the day. We won our state championship when I was in high school, and we went undefeated. We were 23-0, and it was against a team that had beat us 4 years ago when I was a freshman in high school. And we got to avenge that and win the state championship with all of my buddies. So that was a great moment to cap off high school. But my best moment ever, I think, would probably be, even though it was a loss, was my professional debut when I was in Spain. We lost 3-1. But, you know, we were playing against a good team, and I saved a penalty. I saved probably 7 other shots that game. And I can't tell you how nervous I was in the locker room before the match. First minute of the game, they drive down, I make a save. Then second play, corner kick, I come out, I punch it. The guy shoots it again, save. So it was just like getting, you know, finally being able to play a game overseas at the professional level. I was like, wow, I can actually do this. And, you know, that was over 2 years ago now. And so now I'm like kind of really, you know, in a much different mindset. Like if I had a game tomorrow, I wouldn't be that nervous. I wouldn't be so, you know, fidgety in the locker room, you know. But that probably is my 2 best moments right there.
No, amazing, man. I know we said this is like a fire round here, but I'm asking you other questions. Bro, is it cool to play football over there in America? because there's so much bigger sports out there. As a young boy growing up, was it cool to play, as you guys would call it, soccer? Or was it a thing where like, I'm not telling these what I'm playing soccer today, boy?
I think if you're like talking to your regular mates at school, it's not cool. It's definitely not cool because soccer's easy. There was this running joke at my high school between me and the basketball team that if LeBron James became a goalkeeper, he would be a better goalkeeper than me. And every single day at the lunch table, they were like, yeah, man, if LeBron had like a year to train, he would take your spot on the team because he's just way bigger and stronger. And I'm like, nah, you don't get it. Like it takes years of, and they're like, nah, you suck. And so if you talk to like the basketball guys or you talk to the football guys, they kind of like dog you and kind of give you a hard time. But if you were a soccer player and, you know, like guys like me and a couple of my other buddies that I grew up in Atlanta that played in the national team, like that was like the coolest thing because you got to go all over the US and all over Europe and you got like free Nike gear, you know, free boots, free runners and like trainers and stuff. So that was so cool to like, once you made it to that level, the basketball guys were like, damn, like you got some free shoes just because you play soccer at like this team. And I was like, yeah, bro. And then they're like, all right, that's pretty cool. So I don't think it's cool unless you make it to that level. So if you're just like playing for your like local club, they like think you're a loser or whatever. But
I know America's, boy. You lot are opinionated, and you say it with your chest as well. You're not holding back. So if it's not cool, like, nah, you're not cool.
The locker room banter at West Ham was some of the worst, like some of the worst things I've ever heard people say to each other in my life, bro.
Oh, for sure.
It's rough over there.
Yeah, it's rough. It's not clean over here. It's rough. But you know what it is? It's like football over here, and in most places anyway. It's a working man's sport. Do you know what I mean? It's come from the street where it's rough. It's gritty. So you're gonna get that sort of, you know, attitude and opinions and things like that. Whereas, for instance, when you go to different countries, like you go to the Middle East or like Dubai or anything like that, and I guess it's similar to certain places in America where it's a paid sport. Like parents will go and pay big money for players to go and play. Whereas here, no one's paying to play, bro. Like, you got to pay me to play. Do you know what I mean? In a way where it's like, it's hard to I think it's changing a little bit now because more so some parents see it as, let me just drop off my children, pay the money. Can you look after them for that hour and a half? It's babysitting. They're getting activities and I can go and do a bit of a shopping. And so, yeah, it's definitely changed. But next one, bro. Hardest moment of your career so far?
Hardest moment was getting back to playing after college. I mean, I took about a year off between college and playing semi-pro, and putting the boots and the gloves back on for the first time, having not touched a ball in like a year. I had been running some marathons and doing some other things, so I was still in like good shape, but it was so much different than it had ever been because you lose your ability to like have the first touch. You lose that ping, and it was like, you know, coming from the ground up. I would go to the local park where I was living in California, and just like my buddy would just toss the ball around and I would just dive and get up and just try to get back to what it felt like hitting the ground. Like my hands were sore, my legs were sore, my shoulders. So that was a real humbling experience because I had come from being like this guy who was, you know, with West Ham and playing at the U18 national team, trying to qualify for the World Cup, to like just trying to get on a semi-professional club to start my career back up. So that, I think, for me, kind of helped shape me into the guy I am today. And like Goalkeeper, like getting that year off to get the passion back as well too. Because kind of my last few years in college, I remember being in the locker room like, man, I'd rather be like at a party, or I'd rather be like in the dorm room just chilling, playing Xbox, because I don't really want to play tonight. You know, you got so many other things going on, girls and school, and so I think that's a good thing too with England and other countries, that like y'all don't necessarily have that same university style here. Like you said, in England, working man sport, you either sign or you go work. You know, if you don't sign the youth contract, you get a job or you work for your pops or something. Like, you know, when you told me Kieran, who you had on, is now a financial advisor. I was like, bro, Kieran had some of the best midfield pings and touches and moves I'd ever seen. And he could be playing in the MLS, but he's decided to take a different lifestyle. So I think in the US, it's like, you know, there's so many options. Like, you know, you can go to college, you can do this and that. So for me, I tried, you know, I worked in sales, I worked in restaurants, and I was like, man, I don't like this. I want to get back into football. And when I did, it was really hard. And that was the best and the worst thing for me in my career, was to take that time off to kind of get me back to that passion of like, yo, I love getting up early and going to the gym and training now. As before, I had kind of like, you know, after like 10, 11, 12 years of doing it at the high level, you lose that passion, and that year off kind of re-kicked or restarted and refueled me into like, you know, the last 3 years now. So it's been good.
Dope. No, that's dope, bro. Right, last one, bro, before we wrap it up. Best lesson that you've learned in the last 6 months?
You never know what's going to happen, and it's always best to be prepared. I think, like I said, over the summer, I spent 4 months training, not knowing when I could fly to Germany. But when I got there, I was in shape and I was ready to go. And I think I didn't even know I was going to Germany over the summer. It was like trying to get back to Spain, trying to re-sign or figure out how that was going to go. I think if you're a player and you're a teenager, or you're my age in your 20s or whatever, the best thing possible is to always be prepared. Because they say like luck is when opportunity meets preparation, or the opposite way, preparation meets opportunity. So if you're prepared and someone calls you and they say, hey, Corona is done, you can come back, and you're ready, you're in a great position to get lucky and play. But if I'm not, and I'm sitting here on the sofa eating chips and soda, and the coach calls me and he goes, hey, actually move your flight to tomorrow because Corona's done and we're ready to go, and I haven't been training, then I start to scramble, and then you're in deep trouble. So I think the best thing I've learned throughout this time off is like, you know, don't take downtime for granted. Always be training, always be watching football. If you are a player, always be trying to, you know, get ahead in a positive way. You know, try to set a goal. Like I've been trying to work on this spread save, because I never stretched. I was never really flexible, and I was always just great with my feet and distribution and great with shot stopping. I've never been good on 1v1. So I've taken this 3-4 months of downtime with my coach to be like, hey, let's do this once or twice a week so I can get good at it, because they're already good at it in Germany. So once I get back over there, I'll be able to hang with them, and I'll be able to, you know, do something that I wasn't able to do 6 months ago. So you got to always be prepared, you know, and I think that's been part of being older too. I think if I had like maybe older brother or another goalkeeper that I trained with that was older than me to tell me stuff like this when I was, you know, younger, I might not have listened, or I might have, but I think it's good if guys like my age or younger hear stuff like this, because it's important to like really take it seriously if you want to play for a long time.
Oh, for sure. No, that's dope, bro. Honestly, pleasure again, like just speaking with you. The depth of knowledge that you have as a goalkeeper, and you've just shown a small percentage of what you know. I know there's more that you know. That was just the surface of, you know, what we touched on. After football, I don't know. I can see you as a coach. I can see you as someone that's willing to share your knowledge, and because of the fact that you look at the game in a different way, you look at it in a very detailed angle. So sitting here and just, you know, hearing you speak, very articulate, very in detail again when it comes to like the questions and things like that. Truly amazing. Love the energy that you're putting out there. And again, I love the fact that you're saying, because I hear a lot of people talk about, oh man, I wish I just had this. I wish I just had that. But then when it does come along, you're not ready for it. That's because you've been wasting time, you know? So it's like being ready when there is no light at the end of the tunnel right now, where you don't see it. It's like you have that faith, you have that belief that something's going to come out of this. And again, hearing you speak like that is a breath of fresh air. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, was to have people like yourself on here for the youngsters to listen to, whether they're goalkeepers, whether they play in a different position, whether they're part of football in whatever capacity. Is just hearing, you know, your story, that you've gone to these different countries at a young age. You know, you're going to a small town in Spain, bro, from America, to like not understanding what they're saying, to learning Spanish, to go into Italy in a small town and thinking, man, because in Italy, I've been to Italy many times. My family live in Italy as well, and it's like,
oh, nice.
There's no English there unless you're going to a big city like Milan or something like that. No one's speaking any English. You're not going to see your normal McDonald's or anything like that. Not to say that I want McDonald's because the food is good over there, but I just mean there's not that familiarity when you go to these smaller towns, especially anyway. If you go to Milan, like these bigger cities, of course, you'll see more of it. But yeah, going back to again, just a conversation and I do believe we're going to see you at a team. I know you're going to be pushing and I hope you get to a big club in Europe. And again, with the mindset that you have, I believe that you can do it. And I appreciate you taking out your time and sharing your knowledge and everything, man. So I wish you the best of luck, bro, going forward. And hopefully you can get that move back to Germany as soon as possible.
Yeah, appreciate it. And like you said, as far as after football, I don't know, man, about coaching at the moment because I've just helped out my local club here that I played with growing up a few weekends ago.
Okay.
And they were like,
what was that like?
Coach calls me. Oh, I'm about to tell you, man. He's like, hey, Marius, can you help us out? We got 3 weeks left of camp in January. And it's like the 8-year-olds, the 9-year-olds, and the 10-year-olds. And I was like, all right, are they like the elite kids? And he's like, no, it's like, none of these kids are listening to this. So I'm just going to tell you what happened. So it's just like, it's more like babysitting at that age,
it's babysitting.
And I don't know if there's the right person for anything that can help an 8-year-old who doesn't want to be at a soccer camp. I don't know if anyone was born to be a coach for that specific niche, because some of these kids, the guy was picking on the girl and they were throwing balls at each other. And the one kid was kicking the other kid. Then the other kid said some curse words to another kid, and that kid ran away, and I had to sit on the ground and like have a talk with him. He's telling me about his mom and dad, and I'm like, dude, all I want to do is teach you guys how to hit a side volley and how to block the ball, And so I think, for the right age group, and I don't know, we need to catch up some more about what 100%. You're doing with coaching. But 100%. I think if I had like what my goalkeeper coach at Atlanta United, he coaches the 16s, the 17s, and the 18s. And sometimes the 14s, but for him, he loves it because that's the age where you're like starting to grow physically and you can like work with those kids on technique. If I'm kind of coaching 8 or 9-year-old, he should be playing basketball and tennis and golf and football and still learning at what he's good at. I think that's too early of an age to be having a kid doing goalkeeper training, honestly.
Yeah.
And maybe that kid turns out to get really fast and strong and he'd be a great center back or a forward. I think it's too young of an age. So as far as coaching, it would have to be the right environment, but I did not have a good time, bro. I'm telling you right now, it was like babysitting for 3 weekends and it was cold here. I was freezing.
That's the worst.
It was cold. So, but it was a pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me on. And it's always good to talk about football, even when I can't play it. So.
No, 100%, bro, man. And when I mean, coach, you still got many years to play as a goalkeeper. Like, you can play. We spoke about it earlier on. Brad Friedel played till he's like 40 somethings, 41 or 39 or something like that. So Buffon. So as a goalkeeper, if you're looking at it from that perspective, you got another 15, 20 years ahead of you right now, bro. Like to play.
Hope so. Yeah, hope so.
So you got a lot of time, but the 8 and 9-year-olds. Yes, trust me, I've been there. It's not easy.
Different. It's different.
It's definitely difficult. But bro.
There was a few good ones though. A few good guys like that were really trying, but there was like 12 kids total. So it was like 2 of them were good and cared, and 10 of them just wanted to kick each other.
Yeah, so, you're gonna get that. You're definitely gonna get that. Like I said earlier on, you're gonna get parents that just drop them off because they want some time alone.
Yeah.
So then you got to deal with it, but it's definitely rewarding at the same time. Once it's like you see the difference in them and the parents see the difference in them, it is definitely rewarding, but you have to be patient. So, but I mean, in terms of the level that you're speaking about, like the way you break down football, I think you'll be more suited with the older boys and to go into that detail. But you never know. Maybe in 10 years' time, we might see you with the under 6s.
We'll see, bro. We'll see.
But yeah, no, bro, appreciate it. And anyone who's been listening, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think about the conversation. We'll put the links in the description as well. Check out Maurice as well. And Yeah, man. Peace.
Thanks, bro.